Hi, my name is Tamar and welcome to this new video. In this video I'll be showing you all the books I hauled in 2022. I'm not feeling my best, but I still wanted to make this video, so just let's get on with it. I have a lot of books to show you, so I'll be cutting it up in different parts, and I'll be rolling a dice to decide on which pile I start with. I have 6 piles and a 6-sided die. So I cannot show you the rolls, but I'll roll for it and I'll show you what I rolled. We're starting out with a 4. So that is actually my own haul books that I didn't haul, new haul books outside of the UK. Very specific, but I have a whole stack for UK books, which you will see later. And I'll keep it short for every book, because I hold 72 books this year. At least I got 72 books this year, and I'll just start with the first one, which is Anne of the Green Gables by Lucy Montgomery. This is a classic featuring Anne, and it's kind of cottagecore, that's all I know, and it is one of my favorite books from one of my best friends, so that's why I want to read it. Then I have Heartstopper Volume 3. I bought this in Berlin when I was visiting my brother. This is by Alice Oseman. I have already read it and I really enjoyed it. This is the 3rd installment in a graphic novel series about 2 boys that fall in love. Then we have Plantopedia by Adrienne Barman. I got this one at a very off-priced sale at my local bookstore, and I've also already read this, and this is a book featuring very beautiful illustrations and little all about plants, and it's really fun and I really enjoyed reading it. Then I have Gevalletje Borderline by Katlijn Hulshoff. This is a non-fiction about borderline, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to do so. Then I have Ga gewoon wat leuks doen bij Afrika Romein, which is about depression. I also have this book signed because I went to the event, the publication event for this book, because Afrika Romein is one of my favorite authors. I haven't read this yet, but I'm very excited to do so. This is also a non-fiction. Then I have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which I think is literary fantasy. I have read from Matt Haig before, Evie and the Animals, which I really enjoyed, so I'm excited to give him another go, even though people have very mixed opinions about this book. Then I have Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. I got this one in the Waterstones in Amsterdam when I went to visit Amsterdam with my study, which was very fun. And this is, I think, a dark academia sort of book, and it's fantasy YA, I think. Don't know. Then I got The Betoverde Poort by Jerome Stilton. I think it's called like The Secret Door. I don't know exactly what it's called in English, but this is the 2nd installment in one of my favorite childhood series, of the Fantasia series, and I got this at my local place where you can buy a lot of different things like toothpaste and deodorant, and they also sell leftover books, and I found it for €5, and I was very excited because these books have been out of print for a long time, so I was so baffled when I found it, so I'm excited to reread this. I bought in Berlin as well. I bought Percy Jackson and the Demigod Files by Rick Riordan. This is the 4.5 installment in the Percy Jackson series, and I have really enjoyed reading this. This features the 3 stories. It's a fantasy YA. It features the 3 stories, Percy Jackson and the Stolen Chariot, Percy Jackson and the Bronze Dragon, and Percy Jackson and the Sword of Hades, as well as some other things like little interviews. I got Frostheart 3, Rise of the World Eater by Jamie Littler. I got this book as well at the Waterstones in Amsterdam because I'm excited to do a reading vlog featuring the 3 books of Frostheart soon. Frostheart is a series about, it's a fantasy, polar fantasy middle grade series. And I just realized I still have the price tag on it. That's interesting. Then I got at Broese, which I know for sure, I got, which is a bookstore in Utrecht, I got Pages & Co. Tilly and the Lost Fairy Tales, which is the 2nd book in the Pages & Co. series. I also have this one signed because I found it signed at the bookstore, which was so fun. This is, can I say, it's kind of like a portal fantasy. Yeah, it's a middle grade portal fantasy about going into different stories. Then I got Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, which is an adult soft fantasy, cozy fantasy about a barbarian who's running a coffee shop. I think that's the gist. And I got the special edition of the Dutch special edition of Gallant by V.E. Schwab, which looks like this. I haven't read it yet, but I'm very excited to do so. I really loved A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, so I'm excited to dip my toes into Gallant soon. That was my first pile of books that I bought new here in the Netherlands or in Germany. So let's now get on to the second pile, which is another 4, which we already had, which is a 2. So I'm now going to, it's a 2. I'm now going to show you the pile of the books I got because my grandma moved, so we went through her collection with her and she picked out some books, and then from the leftover books I picked out a few, and this pile contains of 8 books. Mostly because I'm interested, because of the study subject that I currently do, because I study theology and my grandma has read a lot upon that subject. Some books are just because I want to read about it and then get rid of the books mostly. I have Bonhoeffer 75 about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It's a very short little book about his poems and prayers, and it's just very simple and easy, and I am interested to read upon it. It's non-fiction. I also have this book called Jezus nalatenschap van het Christendom by Hem Kuitert, een schets voor een Christologie, which is also just theology. It's non-fiction, and I'm just interested to see if I like it. And then I have this book about Nietzsche by Michael Tanner, which is just a short introduction to Nietzsche, which is also non-fiction. This is God met ons over de aard van het schriftgezag, which is also about the Bible, and it's just another non-fiction that I'm interested in. Then I have Geloof is zo gek nog niet by Lucas Grollenberg, which I think is also a non-fiction about the same subject. Then I have this one, and I don't know the name because it's not in the cover. Oh yeah, this is the schrijfkunst in Bijbellanden, which is about like writing in the land where the Bible is from, and I'm interested because of the language aspect of it. Then I got the Kat in the Boekenkast, which is a collection where Dutch writers write about cats, which I'm just interested in because I love cats. And then we also have Vogels, Vogels, which are poems funny poems about birds with drawings in it as well. And I'm very excited to go through this and enjoy them, and maybe send a few to my friends if they make me laugh, because I want to read a little bit more poetry, so this is probably a very accessible way for me to do so. That was a very short one because I don't know a lot about the books yet. So let's get on to the third category. And the 3 stands for all the second-hand books that I got this year, which is a pretty huge pile. I didn't think it was, but last year I went to a book event, a second-hand book event. It is currently as well happening, but because we're going to move this year, I didn't think it would be a good idea, because last year I got a lot of books that I haven't read most of yet, but there I got a lot of second-hand books for cheap. For which is one of them is the Camera Obscura by Hildebrand. I already own a copy of this book, but this is just that I inherited from my grandmother earlier. Well, she hasn't died yet, but what I got from my grandmother earlier. But this is a very nice edition, and I want to see if there's any differences between the 2 editions. And this one it's just very pretty. And the Camera Obscura is the collection of things that Nicolas Bates wrote. And he wrote and wrote onto this collection for a very long time, and it's mostly fiction. Then I have Malfuria by Christophe Marzi, which I think is fantasy pirate middle grade. I haven't read, I don't know what it's about, but it looked intriguing, and so I got it from my second-hand bookstore. Then I have The Kist by Maria Dermout. I have already read this book, as you will have seen in my spring and summer wrap-up. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. It is folklore, mythology collection of short stories. Then I have Nagelaten Snikken by Piet Paaltjes. This book is Piet Paaltjes wrote, which we will see later, which I will just get for the sake. Piet Paaltjes also wrote Snikken en Glimlachjes, this is my second edition of the book, which he has published during his life, but Nagelaten Snikken is the collection of works that has been established after he committed suicide. So this is by a colleague author that found the other things he wrote and put it into a book called Nagelaten Snikken, which then complements this one, which I have already read my other copy of, but I'm very excited to own another very nice and tiny edition of. So I will still have to read this one, but I'm very excited because I really enjoyed this one. It's poetry, by the way. Very sinister. It's kind of like deprecating poetry. En dan I have de historie van mevrouw Sarah Burger gehad bij Wolf en Deken. Aagje Wolf en Betje Deken. Betje Wolf en Aagje Deken. This book is the first, I think it is the first novel written in letters in the Dutch history, and I have had a class on it, and it's historical. No, it's not historical, it's a classic, and I'm very excited to get to reading it, but it's a chonker, and I've just been intimidated by it. Then I have Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I recently found this at the second-hand bookstore, and I know a lot of people really enjoyed this book. It's fantasy YA, I think, featuring dragons, so I'm very excited to get to reading this. I also got Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer from my second-hand bookstore, and I want to read this because we own the 3rd book somewhere on the shelf, and I've heard that it's a sci-fi middle grade YA, like kind of like the crossover, just like Percy Jackson and Philip Pullman, that maybe started out a little bit middle grade but transform into YA, and I'm very excited to read this. Then I have The Fire by Catherine Neville. I think this is the direct sequel to The 8 by Catherine Neville, even though she wrote this way a lot later than the first novel, and I really enjoyed reading The 8, but it's a chunker, so I haven't gotten to it yet. And The 8 is like a historical fiction with some mystery elements in it. Dan I got Je bent een allerbeminnelijkste dwaas by Bella van Zuilen. I did a project on Bella van Zuilen for my previous study, so that's why I got interested in it. It's also a classic, which is also letters. Then I got Het bloed van de keizer by Brian Staveley, which is in English, the title, The Emperor's Blade. I got this at a store where you could just, you could pay for something, but you also were allowed to get it something for free, and I took this one, and I paid a little bit for it in the exchange that I had, which is, I think, an adult fantasy, epic fantasy, and I don't know much about it, but it just sounded intriguing. Then I have Amalgro by Alge Toussaint, which is also a classic, and I don't know anything about it besides that it's in the time that I'm interested in, and it's a female writer. And then last but not least for this category, I have Magic by Angie Sage, the first book in the Septimus Heap series, which I have had my interest in for a while now, and when I saw that at my second-hand bookstore, I couldn't pass it up. And it's I think a middle grade or early YA fantasy, and it just looks really cool with all the book on the book cover, and I'm just excited to read it. So that was that category. Now on to the next one. Only 3 more to go. I'm doing this quite fast. 6. Okay. 6 is my England book haul. I think the most exciting of it all, because I really loved going to bookstores in England, and I bought 13 books there, which is insane. Took me a lot of money, but I'm just going to show you them all. And the first one is The #1 Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. I've already read this. You can see my full review of it in my rock art video that I'll link up above. And I gave this 2 stars. It's it's like cozy mystery, but I just didn't enjoy it. And then I have The Secret Sunshine Project by Benjamin Dean. I got this on the buy one get one half price tile at the middle grade section. It is a contemporary middle grade, and the sprayed edge is like so cool. It's like a kind of like a rainbow idea, and it is also very much an LGBTQ plus story, and I have just started reading it, so I'm very excited to continue. Then I have Frostheart 2 for the same video that I talked about earlier, and yeah, so this is a polar fantasy, middle grade. You'll see a lot of middle grades in England because I really went out on a spree. Then we have The Hatmakers by Tamsin Merchant, which is also a fantasy middle grade, and I don't know much about it, but I'm very excited to read it. Then I have The Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix, which I think is a YA or adult fantasy novel that is also historical. It's set in 1983, and it's about booksellers, and I heard a lot of good things about this from Beth over on Books Nest, so I'm excited to read this. Then I got Rainbow Grey by Laura Ellen Anderson, which has this amazing red sprayed edge. basically I got this because Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin is a character in this, and I just think that's so cool. This is also a fantasy middle grade, which is like kind of like the theme, because that's just my favorite genre and age range combination. And then we have The Last Bear by Hannah Gold, which is a polar contemporary middle grade, and it's the Waterstones exclusive edition, which has blue foiled instead of silver, I think, which was also on the buy one get one half price style, and it also has illustrations in it actually, which I just realized, which is really cool. I'm very excited to get to reading that. Then I got Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, the second book in the realm of the Elderling. In the first series, the Assassin's Apprentice, the first one. I don't even know what the series is called. The first one, the First Year Trilogy. I should know that, but this is the second book in the First Year Trilogy. I've already read the first one, and I cried a lot, and I'm very excited to get to this epic adult fantasy. But it's such a chunker that I've been intimidated to continue. Then I got The Strange World Travels Agency by Aldi Lapinski. I really wanted to read a book from them, and I spotted this one, so I took it, and it is another fantasy middle grade, which I think this is also a portal fantasy, not a polar. And then I got Secret of the Stars by Maria Kuzniar, which is the second book in the Ship of Shadows series, and I really enjoyed the Ship of Shadows, which is magic. It's a fantasy middle grade about female pirates, and it's such a blast. And I'm really looking forward to continuing with her story. Then I have Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I have read With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I really enjoyed it, so I want to continue with her stories. And this is YA LGBTQ plus novel in verse, which I'm very excited to read because I've never read anything in verse as a novel. Then I have Priory of the Orange Tree. I found this at so many bookstores, and I said if I see it one more time, I'm going to buy it. And then I saw it, so I had to buy it. And it's such a chunky book. It's an adult fantasy featuring dragons. That's all I really know about it. It's by Samantha Shannon, and I have never read from this author before, but I'm intimidated to say the least. But I'm very excited to, when I finally get to it, to read it, because it's a stunning book as well. And then the last book I got in England is Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. I still have to read this one, but this is just the last one that's out so far in the Heartstopper world, which is this amazing graphic novel. And this is what the art style looks like, and I'm very excited to continue with it. Whew. On to the next part. I rolled for the books that I got gifted this year, which is quite an amount, which I'm very thankful for. So hereby the thanks to everyone, and I'll tell you from each one from who I got it. I'll start with these three. These I got from my friend Lake. They gifted these to me. This is the second, third, and the fifth book in the series, which I've already read when I was a child, which are the Princess series from the T.S. Stilton, and they didn't do anything with them and asked me if I wanted them, so I took these books from them, and I'm very excited to dive back into this series. Then I got On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. One of my friends, their sister was getting rid of some books, and my friend asked me if I wanted some of them in change for the shipping cost. So I chose a few books from that list. This one is one of them, which I think is. I thought it was a contemporary, but I think it is not really contemporary. I think it has some magical elements, but I know it's a YA. It just sounded good, and I read some good reviews on it, so I'm excited to get to this. Then we have The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, which I think is an adult fantasy as well. I have the special edition Dutch version here, but when I saw that I could have got another copy, I took it, and I still have to read it, but I'm very excited to do so. I helped out my friend Max Amanjali on his book, and he gifted me some books in exchange for it, which was very nice of him. Here's was by one of Becca Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I got this from Max, as I told you, and the sequel to What If It Says, and I really hated the ending of that book, so I'm very excited to read this because I was very sad that would be the ending of the story, so I'm actually very excited to know and read the continuation. The first book is a contemporary romance YA novel. Then I have the 3-pack from 2022. Each year there is the publication of 3 short stories by 3 different authors to support and reading, and these are always free, and I haven't read it yet, so I don't know anything about them, but I always get them. I got for my birthday You Will Get Through This Night by Daniel Howell. I don't even know which one of my friends gifted this one to me, but I'm very excited to read this when I get to it, and I might actually need this book in my life. Then I got for my friend Iveta, I got Show Us Who You Are by Elle McNichol, which is a book with some sci-fi elements. It's a middle grade, and it features autistic and an autistic character and a character with ADHD, and I really enjoyed this. This is one of my favorite books ever. I really love Elle McNichol, and I highly recommend you read this. This is just one of my favorite middle grades ever. Then I got from Sanna, one of my friends as well, on my birthday, Circe by Madeline Miller, which is a mythology-based adult or YA. I think it's adult novel, and I read this for my book club, and I really enjoyed reading it. I got as well from Max, I got Melamander by Thomas Taylor, a book I've already read but really excited to have a copy of now, which is another fantasy middle grade. Just my thing. I got Joe by Hinke van Abema, Maria Martine and Johanna Backhaus and others. I worked on this book. I did an interview for this book, so that's why I got a copy of it. It's non-fiction. I have talked about this book in depth before, so I'll link that video up above. I can talk. Then I have the Cat's Cafe comics by Matt Tarpley. I got this one from Calvin, one of my friends, for my birthday, and this one features a lot of amazing cute stories from the Cat's Cafe comics, and this is just very heartwarming, and I really enjoyed reading it when I did. Then I have The Night Circus by Ern Morgenstern. I also got this one from Sanna, and I still have to read it, but I'm very excited, I think it's circus fantasy YA, or it's adult. I don't know. With middle grade, I know it's middle grade, but most of the time, but if it's YA or adult, I sometimes don't even know. Then I have the Essentials of the Reformation, which my parents got me when they went to Zurich, and it is just Essentials of the Reformation. It was a very quick read. I really got something from it. Yeah. Then from my friend's sister, I also got Rayberry by Jordan Ichwenko. If I if I say that right. This has a beautiful cover. It's really stunning. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I think it's a YA fantasy. Then I got Radio Silence by Alice Oseman from my friend Lake for my birthday, which is another book by Alice Oseman, featuring Aled in this one, which is another contemporary YA that I'm just looking really forward to reading. And this is, I think, so far my Lake's favorite Alice Oseman book. So I should really get onto it. And then my camera died, so here I'm wrapping up the last few books that I got in 2022. The last book that I got as a gift was Roze Brieven bij Splinterschot. I got this for Christmas, and it is a collection of letters sent to I think the main character of a different book. This one here, Confetti-regen bij Splinterschot. So readers have sent letters to the main character, and this is a bundle of those letters, and I'm very excited to get to it. It is very small, so I think I can get to it fairly easily. And then on to the last category, books that I got for my study. I started a new study in September, and for that I had to get a few books. I don't know if this is all of them, but this is the ones I could find. They're probably all the ones I need, but I'm not completely sure. This is the first one is Rituelen by Paul Post, which is a non-fiction book about rituals. I've been using it for 2 of my subjects so far, Ritual Lab, where you make a ritual, and rituals, or where you study the theory of rituals. Then I have Alles moet anders by Janneke Stegeman. This is an essay on racism in theology and how you cannot be apolitical or have no stance in this. And I'm currently reading this for plurality and dialogue, a subject I have, and I'm currently halfway through, and I'm pretty enjoying it. Then I have Reflecteren, leren van je ervaringen als professional bij Marie-José Gene. This is on reflection. I have used it so far for one of my subjects for a specific method, so not that much, but a few pages I've used so far, and I'm interested to see what more I'm going to use it for. Then I have Wegen en dwarswegen 2000 jaar christendom in hoofdlijnen by Nico van den Akker and Peter Nisse. I have no clue what subject I have this for, but I'm interested to see anyway. It's about Christianity, 2000 years of Christianity basically. Then I have Studeer Effectief bij Albert Pinot, Bernadette van Hout, Wolters, Pieter, Jonge Pier, Stan van Ginkel en Wie Schijen. I have not used this yet, so we're gonna see if I'm ever going to need it. Then I have a psychologische gespreksvoering by Gerrit Lang and others. I have used it so far for my conversation subject, and I have actually read quite a few parts of this. Not my favorite study book. Some parts were really annoying, but some tactics were very useful. And then a book I fully read, De 5 religies van de wereld by Henk Schouten. This I read for religion in multiply. This book features the 5 main religions that we focus on: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. and then also one chapter on how those things compare to each other. So that was all the books I got this year. For 2023 I have a very specific book buying ban, so I hope to get less books and read more from what's actually on my shelves or in the library. And happy reading. Leave a like, comment down below. If you came to the end of this video, leave a little book stack, and until next time, see you later.